You and I Are Polar Opposites is breaking the social norms. Not only did this anime have in its first episode holding hands, which is extremely lewd and should be censored in anime, but additionally also a love confession. It's always crazy whenever you have shows where it suddenly has a love confession in the first episode, and it almost feels like, you know, the Roadrunner thing, where it's like suddenly you finally get the thing you've been looking for this entire time, and you finally catch it, and you don't know what to do with it. You're suddenly like, what next? But I have really been enjoying You and I Are Polar Opposites. A lot of it has to do with, yes, I like Suzuki. Suzuki is just a bundle of fun. She's this dork that doesn't know what to do now that she finally has a thing that she's always been clamoring towards. She's a dork. She's an absolute dork. Yes, this show does kind of follow that whole trope of the really hot girl that everybody seems to like, suddenly liking the guy who's like boring and just off to the side. But I have really liked what they've done with Tani's character as well, which is the boy. This guy does seem like he has some sort of issue with communication, and now that he's finally seemingly gotten what he wants as well, it does seem like he's starting to slowly learn how to communicate and whatnot, which is kind of bringing out his character very slowly, which is, yes, very nice, because when I first seen the PVs for the show, I'm like, okay, she's great, but who's this other guy? But yes, I watched the first 3 episodes of You and I Are Polar Opposites, and this is my thoughts on it so far. The series opens up with a girl named Suzuki, and from the very beginning we see that she is doing up herself really, really well in the morning. Like, she is doing the whole works, making herself nice and done up. Before she finally gets to school, and she's talking with her friends in her class, and we notice that she's constantly trying to get this guy Tani, who's her neighbor in class, to get in the conversation. She's constantly asking him about, makeup and whatnot, and he's like, I don't know anything about makeup. And her friends are constantly going, stop bugging Tani. Tani, if you want us to tell her to stop, let us know. It doesn't seem like he really minds it too much, but he is kind of closed off. Well, this is when we find out from Suzuki's perspective that she's madly in love with Tani. And the reason why is because while Suzuki herself kind of goes the flow, every time she's with a different type of person, she always kind of changes her personality in order to fit with the group. And she doesn't do this in order to, give people a little bit of advantage. She does it to kind of protect herself. But Tani's different. She knows that Tani is the type of person that no matter who he talks to, he doesn't change for them. He always keeps to his norm. And she kind of finds that cool. She finds somebody that is able to kind of be themselves as cool. Well, one day, Suzuki decides to muster up the courage and ask Tani, can they walk home together? And surprisingly, he accepts it. Well, as they're walking, Suzuki's constantly trying to figure out something for the two of them to discuss. He seems to give in a little bit to the conversation. She thinks that he's kind of just being nice for the sake of being nice, but knows that's not typically how he is. Until eventually, their hands accidentally touch. And she pulls it away quickly, but then he grabs her hand and they start walking hand in hand. And this is just freaking her out inside. She's like, holy crap, am I in a dream? Whatever. They end up parting ways, then cut the next day, and the word's gotten out. Somebody asks Suzuki, hey, are the two of you going out together? And this shocks her, and she's like, hell no, that's not happening. And unfortunately, Tani overhears this. And the entire day, Suzuki is thinking, oh my gosh, I completely ruined everything. He thinks that I hate him, all this kind of crap. I want to apologize to him. Well, finally, at some point, she just kind of gets fed up with it and announces to her friends that she's always been madly in love with Tani and wants to be with him. Is that okay? Is that a bad thing? And their response is, no, that's perfectly fine. Go after him. And so she rushes off to go see Tani, apologizes to him that she was worried about what other people would think about their relationship, and says that she actually loves him. And his response is, yeah, I've been struggling this entire day because normally I'm used to you talking to me all the time. I don't know what to do with myself. And he accepts her love. And thus begins the relationship of Suzuki, who is a girl who's always done up, seems like she's always about her appearances, always goes with the flow, adjusts herself to other people, and Tani, who is someone that seems like a social recluse, but is actually just really bad at communicating with people. And the two of them slowly learn about what love is, struggling with what are the social norms, what a boyfriend and girlfriend should be doing, what the two of them want to actually do, and slowly over time learning more about each other and some of the benefits that come with a partner. So my thoughts on You and I Are Polar Opposites. So far, like I said, I have been enjoying this show. I think, again, a lot of the enjoyment out of this series is around Suzuki. This is a girl that is an absolute fail dork. I got that impression from the PV. This girl is just a dork. She's just constantly just flustered over herself. Her internal reactions, even her external reactions, are just kind of over the top. Constantly going into goofy chibi mode, freaking out, blowing up, blushing like crazy. She's a dork. The one point that I love the most was this whole segment where, yes, they say, go after him after she confessed her love. And she's like, okay, I'm gonna go. And she jumps out of the classroom and she starts hauling butt. And it gives that impression that she's hauling butt. But then she's slowly going down the hallway, and they kind of look around the corner and like, holy crap, she's going so slow. But they're all going, go get him, girl. They're just cheering her on. I'm like, that's such a great little moment right there. I also love later on where they're at the burger place. She's very scared about looking improper. So she's slowly like nibbling at this massive burger. So she goes after the bun part, and then she goes after the lettuce part, and the lettuce gets stuck in her mouth. And so she just kind of gerbil sucks it up into her mouth. And the guy's like, are you just going to eat each part one by one? I don't think that'll be very good, will it? And so she decides to finally just chomp on the whole thing and gets her, face covered in it. It was really, really dorky. She is, again, a fail goofball. I just love her reactions to everything. She's always flustered. And again, she's both very kind of outspoken about things. She's always kind of trying to go with the flow with conversations, but she's also very honest about what her feelings are on different subjects. So it's not as if she's somebody that always plays into exactly what people want to hear, but it sort of gives that impression. It gives that impression to really everybody. And that's sort of seen by, the appearance of a character named Taida. Taida comes out of nowhere, and he's somebody that sees that relationships are always about hierarchy. You always go out with people because you'll see some sort of benefit to a hierarchy system of popularity or whatever. And so he's kind of wondering, why is Suzuki going out with this guy that's seemingly a nobody? It doesn't make any sense. You're always about your appearances. You're always about what other people think about you. And she's like, wow, that's what you thought about me? That's what the impression that she gives people. She gives people the impression that she's always worried about what people think about her. And that's why I think there's sort of that fear about, why are you going out with him, when that can ruin the impression that people have of you. Even Tani at some point struggles with this. Oh, she denied me in the classroom because she's afraid this will look bad upon her, because everybody believes that. So it kind of gives this impression that Suzuki's always been trying to get Tani's attention, and the sort of side effect of that is that everybody believes that she's just all about how she looks, which is kind of funny. Tani's character, though, this was sort of the biggest kind of question marks that I had coming into this show, because, again, I've seen the PVs and I'm like, okay, she's a dork. What about this guy? Yeah, technically, there is a lot of shows out there that are about a hot girl that goes out with the boring guy. And in a lot of those cases, they're pretty kind of bog standard shows. It's kind of almost a wish fulfillment type of thing. People like to read stories and manga and watch anime that's about a guy that is a nobody that gets the somebody. And I kind of assumed this was going to be the case for this one as well. And it's not that I don't like that concept. It's just that in a lot of cases, I find the guy character to be boring because of that. So essentially, a lot of my expectations for enjoying the show or not was going to be around, is Tani going to be worth a damn? Or is it just going to be me going, okay, it's the weekly watch of Suzuki. Thankfully, he's okay. Thankfully, so far, Tani's character is okay. What they're essentially doing with him is that he's a type of person that's not a social outcast or anything like that. He just sucks at communicating. He doesn't know how to read beyond the literal words that people say. He doesn't understand the meaning behind the words that people say. And that often comes across as that whenever he talks to people, he's very literal about what he says as well. There's this whole scene where she comes by the library to hang out, wait for him till he was done with working at the library. And after he spots her, he pretty much goes to tell her that you don't have to wait for me here. And the way that it comes across is, don't hang around here. And so she's a little bit broken by that. So he has to kind of quickly fix it. This is a guy that seemingly is just bad at communicating. And so he sees the literal in what people say, and he speaks literally. Yeah, it kind of comes across at times where it's like, okay, this is a bit much for this. I think we're looking way too much into this. But I can sort of see his struggles in it. The reason why this show so far has been doing well with it is in things like when he's trying to get a sense from Suzuki why she keeps calling him adorable and not cool or something. Like, she's constantly talking about this, idol over here and talking about how cool this guy is. But whenever she's talking to Tani, she's just saying that he's adorable. He's adorable. This is so adorable. The way that you look right there was so cute. Eventually, he's like, what do you mean by that? And she says, it's like whenever your heart's being crushed. It's the best way to put it. You're endearing, that kind of thing. So over time, he's learning how she communicates, and that sort of plays into what they kind of bring up at the very end of the third episode, this idea of the two of them, now they've established a relationship, slowly learning more about each other and how each other communicates. I like how Suzuki plays it in the idea that let's get to know each other more so that whenever I tell you that I like this thing, you'll say, I know you like that thing. This idea of understanding each other, not necessarily just being with each other. And I think that sort of plays in with Tani's struggles with communication and understanding how, again, Suzuki views the world and how she communicates how much she enjoys something. Again, Sometimes it feels like it's a little bit too deep for how simple it should be, but I like what they're doing so far with their characters. Other than that, though, I've been really enjoying their interactions between the two of them. Some really fun moments, like her spotting his search results and how he was searching how to, properly talk to a girl after she's been like struggling all day about how to be the perfect girlfriend. Apparently he's been searching Google for how to communicate to a girl, and he gets super embarrassed and goes to run away, and she just grabs him and says, "No, you're coming back here. That's super cute that you've been looking up how to communicate to me, that you're thinking about me off the side." Like anytime there's any sign that he's been thinking about her or doing something for her, she just absolutely explodes. She goes back home, she passes out, and then wakes up late the next day. Like, it just completely breaks her. Their interactions together are great. One of my favorite sequences, though, was definitely the date. They go out on a date. She gets there really early. He arrives early as well. And so they start to go to different stores. It kind of gets into later on the idea that she realizes that we're only doing things for me. And that kind of sucks, I guess. But he, of course, responds that, yeah, I did a lot of things that I normally wouldn't do. If I came here alone, I would definitely not gone to any of those stores. But being there with you was what made it a good experience. Thanks for taking me to those locations, that kind of thing. But no, the movie. I like the movie because it's sort of like an emphasis about how individuals themselves sort of complement each other, and how a partner in a lot of cases will help you see things that you don't normally see. They do the movie, and she's just bawling her eyes out. Her mascara's all messing up. She has to fix it in the bathroom afterwards. And they sit down together and they start talking about the movie. He didn't seem like he liked it. Tani's like, yeah, it was okay. I didn't mind it so much. Whereas Suzuki, she loved the movie. And she starts talking about, I love this part and this part and this part. And it was funny because the entire time Tani's going, he's correcting her. No, that was not this. It was this. No, the name was this. Like, he knew all the characters' names. He knew, like, she was getting the names of the species wrong and everything. Like, I think she's saying bear instead of yeti or something like that. But eventually she points out something that he didn't notice. That this witch, when he was going to leave, would like create clothing for the animals so that they would be warm or whatever. And then she's talking about how that the, witch was putting sugar in all the food because he knew that the animals would like it, and how they left out a whole bunch of food for all the animals. There was all these very subtle little shots that were very split second on the screen that she noticed that he didn't notice. And thus it added a lot of elements to the character that he wasn't even aware of. He's like, oh, I didn't even notice that. If it weren't for you pointing it out, I wouldn't have noticed that. Suddenly, if I feel like the movie's a lot better than I originally thought. She's pointing out subtleties that are not literal. And again, that plays into Tani's character and about how he's all about literal things and not seeing the deeper value in things. She's able to kind of point that out to him. So kind of show that element about how partners themselves can sort of complement each other and help each other see things they don't normally see. It sort of gives me a little bit of hope into the overall cast that we have, which I think is another point that I want to get into with this show. Yes, coming to the show, I had immediate thoughts of Horimiya. For those who have not watched Horimiya, it's an excellent romance series. And what Horimiya did really well was have like this really nice big cast of characters that slowly over time romance blossoms between different characters. And it did so well with every single one of those relationships that it ultimately comes together to being a really fantastic series. This one kind of gives me those vibes where you have, yes, the main two characters, which is Suzuki and Tani, but then you have all these other characters that are also slowly thinking about romance as well. You have Asuma, who is this girl that seemingly has a lot of problems with finding boyfriends because every time she finds a boy, she ends up going for the bad guys and they end up having a rap sheet or something like that or getting in trouble. So she's always just falling in love with the bad guys. And then you have Taira, who seemingly has his own personal beliefs about this whole, again, hierarchy system of romance where you only go out with people that are higher up on the hierarchy before he realized at some point that Suzuki's not falling into this formula that I created. And thus he starts to realize that he's the only one that's really trying to set these standards. So I'm guessing the two of them might actually be a thing. It does imply that they technically went to a previous school together, so they know their past selves. Apparently he used to be pretty big and she used to be like very nerdy, and so they had this big change for their debut in their new school. It could get the two of them getting together, and I'm kind of assuming that based on the OP that some other characters might get together. So I'm hoping the other characters, the side characters, have some good relationship builds. I already like Yamada. He's an absolute dork. I love when the first time that he meets up with Tani after Suzuki and Tani get together, Yamada's like, hey, how's it going? He's like, oh, so you know the secret? Oh, no, it's not a secret. She blurred out the entire class that you guys are going out together. After some time of them talking, I think Tani says something to the effect of like, you're easy to talk to. And Yamada's like, what are you talking about? I'm not easy to talk to. Whatever. Here, have some candy. And he just put some candy in his hand. It was like some old lady, like, here, youngster, have some candy. And it points out later on, Suzuki's like, yeah, Yamada always has candy in his pocket or something like that. I forget exactly what it was. It's dorky. There's some dorky characters in the show. But again, I hope that they do a pretty good balance of the other characters. And again, that's something that Horimiya did very well. And I hope they do here as well. I've seen a lot of other shows where they have like a big extended cast, and it doesn't really work very well. This one currently has like 7 extended cast characters that are like seemingly somewhat of a focus. So hopefully, again, it doesn't get too muddied up. So far, I've not really cared too much from Taito's perspective. I think a lot of his like blabbing on about hierarchies and romance and how, you know, Suzuki and Tani shouldn't be together and that there's got to be something going on here. It kind of got a little bit dragged out. So hopefully we're done with that and we can just kind of move on from Taito and move into something else. But we'll see. We'll see. Visually, the show's okay. I noticed by the 3rd episode, it was starting to look more and more rough. I do think it has kind of its own unique style to it that I do appreciate, but I have been noticing a lot of like hands and facial features and whatnot that are starting to get a little bit lazy. So hopefully that's not a bad sign for the show overall, but I do like the unique style to it and the character designs and everything like that. Oh, by the way, bonus credits to the character designers to actually have like the effect of his glasses actually mess up his bangs going through his glasses. You actually see that little distortion there with his bangs. I'm sorry, it's a glasses thing. Anyways, that's my thoughts so far on You and I Are Polar Opposites. Pretty solid series so far. Looking forward to more of it. I hope you guys found this video informative. Hope you found it entertaining. If you did, hit the like button down below. If you like this content and you want to support the channel more, become a member. Until next time, you'll take care.